How's it going, everybody? I did a list covering my favorite dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV, and in the spirit of keeping everything balanced as all things should be, I have to cover my least favorite dungeons as well. So, let's get into it. The number 5 slot is filled by an old dungeon, Hawkman or Hard Mode. The dungeon isn't all that bad, it's usually the people who don't do what they're supposed to. In fact, the dungeon runs pretty smoothly for a while, and returning to the manor after the way you had to deal with it at level 28 and seeing how it's changed is pretty cool. I mean, that was a plus side of all the hard mode dungeons, but that cool factor fades real fast once you get to the final boss. At different points of her health she summons adds, and you have to kill the adds fast because she absorbs them, and depending on how much health they have left determines how much damage she'll do to the group. And the last add is the final boss of the original manor. People almost never follow directions here. They always try to burn down the boss, causing the group to wipe. A majority of the time when I've gotten this dungeon in that 50, 60, 70 roulette, this has happened. But it's not nearly as bad as the next one. Number 4 is another hard mode dungeon, the Tamtara Deepcraft. See, where my number 5 had one boss that would kill you if you failed all the mechanics, all 3 of the bosses here will. And people love to fail these mechanics. Now the story is great, and I've covered it in a video on my channel called The Tragic Tale of Etta Blackbosom, but other than that, this dungeon is a nightmare. The first boss summons adds that if you kill them, they damage the group. You have to make the boss kill them, but people seldom do that, so we all end up going boom. The second boss is constantly sending orbs to suck the life out of the Lalafell at the center of the room, and if he dies, you die. But you also have to keep the orbs from touching the boss. So the entire fight is complete and utter chaos. Now if you beat these 2 bosses, Etta and her husband's head, and yes, I said exactly what I meant. They're not all that difficult as long as people kill all the adds, but by the time you make it there, you're already sick of this dungeon, which is why it's on the list. Number 3 is one that you might not have expected. It's the Great Google Library. Now fighting a bunch of void sent monsters and Charlian defenses through a giant library sounds like a dream come true for any writer, but it's not. See, the bosses all have these things called mechanics, that if you fail, you'll kill your group. The first boss is easy, even if someone messes up and dies when the book closes because they don't follow the party to the backside, things are still salvageable. But the second boss will become invincible and summon adds. He keeps roaring, giving the group Vaughn stacks while you kill the adds. The person who gives the final blow to one of the adds has to drag the orb that attaches to them through the boss to knock him out of his barrier. Not around him, not behind him, not beside him, but through him, and people seldom do that. The last boss is the worst. As 3 separate phases he lights up these platforms that you have to step on or he'll summon Void Scent. The first time only one person has to step on each platform, so it's pretty simple. The second time 2 people have to step on each platform together. And the third time 3 people have to step on each platform together. Now one add is something that can be dealt with a little bit of effort. But if both adds get summoned on the last phase, that's it. And let's just say I'm glad all of my jobs are past level 60, so I don't have to run this place anymore. Number 2 is one that a lot of people probably thought would be number 1, and that's Aurum Veil. This dungeon can be cleared in 10 minutes if done correctly, but you won't make it out of the first room if it's not. You stand in the wrong place, and you'll pull too much. Stand against the wrong part of the wall, and a geyser will push you into the path of the adds, overwhelming the healer, then you all die. Make it past that and you hit the first boss, who hits you with a disease that can only be cured by eating the fruits around the room. People seldom eat the fruit, so people often die. Groups that make it past this part usually clear the dungeon, but the first 4 minutes in Aurum Veil are bad enough to have earned it the number 2 spot on this list. At the top of this list is Brayflox's Long Stop. This dungeon isn't hard. It's not even that long. I seldom wipe here, but it is boring. You're right at the point in the game where you've unlocked your job, but you're not high enough to have any of the skills that make you cool. So it's a slow slog through 4 bosses, something that only happens a handful of times in dungeons, and they're all pretty bland. The music is annoyingly basic, and there's nothing very memorable about it other than how not memorable the place is. The fact that I had to run it again to get footage for this video solidified the fact that it deserves to be in the number 1 spot. I thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and tell me what dungeons you hate seeing pop up when you decide to do a roulette in the comment section down below. And until next time, Later.